main topic so far that I've seen this week since our reaction podcast, at least on the national media, was the Eric Bieniemy and Mahomes pre-halftime kind of disagreement, which we knew this was going to be a national story because, people want to talk about drama and soap operas. So any chance they get, they'll do it. So as we discussed in the reaction podcast Sunday night, you mentioned how the Mahomes and EB disagreement before half wasn't really a big deal. That's stuff that happens all the time. So since then, LeSean McCoy, who has been an EB hater since he left the team, went online saying all EB does is argue with players and knows nothing about play calling or passing. That's a quote. Mahomes has since said it's not a big deal and that they are both fiery competitors who want to win. So that's just natural that they're going to have conversations like that, heated discussions. Other former Chiefs players have taken to social media to defend EB, Jamal Charles being one of them, who was spent time as a running back when EB was a running backs coach with the Chiefs for 5 to 6 years for a good amount of time. So like the guy knows Eric Bieniemy more so than Shady McCoy does, who only played with him for like 5 months. So JD, EB personally, your time with the Eagles, and you go way back. So when you see the Shady McCoy comments and you see guys like Jamal Charles and Jeff Allen defending EB and just what Mahomes said about it, what do you make of all the stuff of the aftermath of all this, the fallout of the EB and Mahomes halftime spat?
Well, like I said on the post-game show, I don't think it's really nothing, to be honest with you. And I think it's exactly what Patrick said, is it's two competitive guys talking these things out. And part of what a coach does is he's got to compartmentalize exactly what's going on for the entire game. And so, and offensively, we always want the ball. We always want to be able to score. And so when we have time and downs, we want to be able to move the chains. If we have another chance and opportunity to make more yards or get a touchdown, that's what we want to do. And you've seen like Patrick coming off, being frustrated because he feels like you might have had, given another chance. Well, the thing is, and here's the reality. When I looked at it, I went back, looking at the film, the play before that, the defensive tackle came from behind Patrick and tackled it. And so, when he was throwing the ball off, that right there could have easily been something that could have hurt Pat. And so, look, you're up. You're going to get the ball at the half. And so it's like, look, man, look, relax, chill out. Hey, relax, right? And Patrick's like, hey, man, look, we should go for it. Like, why not we go for it again? Hey, EB was like, look, man, just don't worry about it. But, of course, the camera catches everything. And then, oh my God, here we go again. And we need to get rid of, EB, and he's terrible yet. And seen it on Twitter. People's like, have we got rid of EB yet? And I wanted to say, for what? Look, I evaluated the entire game. It wasn't like there was bad play calling. You're going to have, obviously some moments where everything doesn't look as crisp as it should. That wasn't on EB or the play calling. Like there was some really good plays that was being called out there. Matter of fact, when they came back at the half, they were moving the chains down the field. Like Patrick was getting the ball out of his hand quicker. Guys were getting open. Like he was moving the ball. And so when you make this reactionary opinion about who you should get rid of because you've seen somebody get after each other and they start talking, look, like you said, everybody wants a big soap opera. It's not that. I don't think it's that at all. And so sometimes it's the optics of things. When people take in, it's like, oh, I can see exactly what's going on because they're not on the same page. That's not what it is. Then we're talking about, Shady, LeSean McCoy. Listen, sometimes people want to be right. I think he's a guy that, hey, he said this about EB. He wants to be right. And so he doesn't seem like a guy that's going to be so forgiving of a guy that came in and was just like, basically like, look, man, hey, we've had a lot of stars here. I've dealt with stars before. We understand you're a star, but there's some things that you got to do. I'm going to talk to you correct. And I think EB did that. And so whatever LeSean liked it or he didn't like it, but he's going to be him. He's going to talk his game. He's going to say what he wants to say. It's his opinion about EB, but you got other people saying opposite of that. You do. And I know people that know EB. I know EB. I know what type of person EB is. He's an old school player. You know, he was one of the top running backs in college. When he got into the league, he was going to be one of the top running backs in the league. Look, this guy's been around. He's a player. It ain't like you're talking to some dude who don't know. You know what I mean? That's a whole different thing about it. That's what kind of, upsets me about what he's saying about EB, because you're not talking to a guy that didn't play or was a bench rod, or he's just a pencil head. Sometimes what we call some certain guys that might be coaches who don't really have that experience. EB's not that guy. Right. He done been in the league. He's done played. He knows what it's all about. So you can have your opinion about whatever. That's fine. But you just making a mountain out of a molehill, man. That's the way I look at it. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. I know it's not.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that, because, you have guys in the league who got their job more so because of nepotism, like Kyle Shanahan, son of Mike Shanahan. There's some examples of it. You have North Turner's kids, people who didn't really play the game, but just, were born in the right family. And so they became coaches. EB played the game, and he played at a high level, and so like he knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. So I think that's what when you say that, I totally in agreement with that. But something that what a fan commented on one of our YouTube videos, they said that people want to talk and trash EB. I think this is a kind of a shot at Mahomes, but people want to trash EB. But who wanted to kick a field goal at the end of the first half of the Bengals Chiefs game? EB did. Who didn't want to do that? Mahomes wanted to come out there and do that play where we didn't get anything for it, where Tyreek got tackled by Apple, and the rest is history. But who wanted to kick the field goal? EB did. EB, so we want to pick and choose when EB's the bad guy or not. But sometimes the coach is the coach for a reason, and that's it. Look, the thing is, hey, everybody has a role to play. And I believe that the part of the reason they're not going to give EB a fair shake, right? Because he's not the head coach. They're going to use that as an argument, or, this is what, why he's not good. When it's going good, it's going to be Andy's offense. When it's going bad, it's EB's, right? It's just, people are not going to be fair with him. They're just not. There's some people who, I don't care what happens, how many AFC championship games you go to, how many Super Bowls you go to, he is not going to get his due. And I see it. And it absolutely enrages me. Like you said, you can't pick and choose. You can. If you're doing that, then you're being biased. Okay. Let's just be real here. You're being biased about this. And I wasn't really saying that. And don't get me wrong. It's not really a shot against those guys about the, Kyle Shanahan's and stuff like that. Those guys have been around football. Yeah. But also, too, we need to understand that EB's just he's just not a guy. Yeah. He's a guy that understands football. He's a football player. So the reason he's in the position he's in, because of the knowledge he's got, right? I mean, it would be almost ridiculous to think that Andy Reid would just hire a guy that's not qualified for that position. You know what I mean? We're talking about one of the greatest offensive geniuses in football, one of the best coaches to ever coach a game. But this is the guy that you decide for whatever reason to have here that's incompetent. That's the guy he's going to choose. So then we had to question actually Andy Reid's ability to get the type of people in that he needs. You know what I mean? That's the question. I'm going into it a little bit deeper. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, man. You're good. But yeah, but go ahead. It just boils me just when I see that. And I know, look, I get it. Not everybody is in that camp of EB, but there are certain people that I see, and I'm just like, there's a bias there. It's a clear bias. LeSean McCoy, Shady, has one. For whatever reason, he has that. Yeah. Fine. It is what it is. I get that. But Mahomes is saying it's not true, okay? I know for a fact that I don't care what offense you're going, there's going to be some type of disagreement. It's going to happen. It's going to happen before the half. It's going to happen after the game. These things happen. You're fighting your family. It's a big family. These things are going to happen. So, yeah, no, 100%. And I think that it's funny because the people who are against EB are going to be against EB. But I think that even Andy kind of knows that, because that's why, like, Andy has to come out and say, "Oh, I also didn't want to call for play. I wanted to be done for the rest of the half too," because that'll end the conversation. It'll go on a little longer if Andy's not coming out and saying, "I didn't want to end. I didn't want to end it." But Andy knows that he has to come out and say, like, it was also me. Not only Eric,
Right.
but it was also me. We both wanted to just go to halftime. We want to press it because he knows people have a narrative and an agenda they want to get out there. I mean, that article that came out in the off season about how EB has butted heads with everybody. There's a narrative that's in this, right? And so Andy knows that. That's why he's trying to end it.
Well, that's why I say if you go into the play calling the second half and you watch what these guys are actually doing, it wasn't bad plays being called. It was some things Pat just missed. Yeah. Pat, he fessed up to it. He owned up to it. That's what I love about Pat because he's a leader. He understands that. Like, look, there's some things I need to improve on as well, right? There's plenty of plays you could have checked down, to get extra yards. Plenty of them. Yeah. Did he keep the ball in his hand a little bit longer? Absolutely on some of those. But, he's competitive. So he's trying to make a throw that he knows he could throw or he can make, but he didn't quite have the time. And so, we kind of get into that more because, some of the pressures that he saw move around the pocket was based off of the timing that he didn't have, in throwing the ball. Mm-hmm. And so that has nothing to do with EB. EB can't block for the guys, okay? He can't make the decision for Pat. All I can do is put guys in the right position to make plays. It's on the guys to make them. So that blame just goes all the way around. And I like you said, I don't want people to keep creating this narrative. It's like driving because sometimes these things get people fired. Okay. And that's the thing about it. If you're sitting over here and you're creating this story about this thing being what it is, hey, and then you're going to have somebody pile on, I told you I was right. You don't know how to do this in a couple. Man, get out of here with that. Okay. If that's what you want to do, fine, cool. Everybody got a little space for it. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, when I'm sitting over, I'm watching the play calling and I'm watching the entire film. There's guys open. There's opportunities missed. That ain't on EB.
Yeah. And I also say too, there's a question I actually wanted to ask you. So when Mahomes was on this radio show, he talked about, he made a comment about how, because they were asking why the offense didn't look so fluid, what was kind of going on out there. And he made a comment that, not people, it seemed it was, there's not a quote, but essentially what the point he was making was there was kind of confusion out there where guys weren't in the right spots where they were supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, that's not play calling, or who does that fall on when guys aren't in the right places and stuff? Is that falling on the receivers, or because he didn't really point out anybody? He just said, people weren't in the right place. There was a little bit of that fall on because people are trying to say, oh, well, who's that fall on? It's got to fall on the enemy because he's the OC. That's some of the stuff I've read online is what people are saying as well. It's more,
Then that's people not understanding how offensive schemes work. Players mess up. Players get in the wrong position all the time. And so it could be the depth of the route. It could be what you were supposed to do on the route. And some guy might just be on his own little thing. It's like, hey, man, you're supposed to run this pick or you're supposed to be 10 yards and you sitting over here 5. Like that messes up the entire lanes. It messes up the whole operation. Mm-hmm. And so that ain't on EB. And so when Pat is saying that, he's letting you know there's an issue with some guys because it's a brand new offense to some guys, right? And guys are still learning. There's going to be some calls and guys are still getting used to each other, playing together, right? And look, it's early. It's week 3, okay? It's week 3. I just don't think, what you do is you throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't do that. You don't abandon everything because everything doesn't work. Now, if there's some things you need to tweak, fine. But you learn from that. That's what film study is for. So they're going to be able to see this on film. They're going to see who was wrong. Eye in the sky don't lie. I don't care what you do. When the meetings, when it's coming in, hey, those guys know who was wrong. Mm-hmm. Pat ain't going to call them out because he shouldn't. That's not how it works. All right? You shouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. But also, too, let's be fair. And thank God for Andy coming out. I was like, look, man, I didn't want to do that. I don't want to put my quarterback in harm's way. If we lose this guy, we're going to lose the game. Season's done. So I'm not taking that chance and opportunity, especially if we're up, then we got the ball at the half. We don't need to do that, okay? Our defense has been playing lights out. They all over the field. They're playing a tremendous game. Why take a chance losing this guy because we want some extra yards? Or try to kick a field goal, obviously from a guy who may not made it anyway. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, man, All right, next topic, brother. Let's go on. Let's move on to something else. Sure.
And with what you said, there was the one that was Chief of the North had tweeted today a video of actually Juju getting upset with Hardman that last play at the end of the game where Mahomes threw that pick. Hardman was supposed to run his hitch and pick Juju's guy on that slant post route that he was running, and I guess Hardman went like 6 yards instead of going 8 yards to pick Juju's guy on his hitch. And then, there was too many guys in that area and ended up getting that pick and tip and stuff. So maybe. Yeah,
no, look, it's precise. Be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. Mm-hmm. That's how it works. If you're supposed to run 8 yards, don't run 7.5. It's 8. Hey, Coach, run it. No, it's 8. Mm-hmm. The reason we have this play this way is 8, right? And that's just one play. The people might have put out or whatever it may be. It could be anybody. It don't have to be McCoy. It could be anybody.
Yeah. Right? I'm sure that's happening a lot during the game. If Mahomes is even, I'm sure it's happening at a lot of points during the game. But on that one, Juju did give kind of a motion to Hardman afterwards. He kind of like gave him like what are you doing kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get podcasts.